Welcome to Healing with One Pinecone at a Time. My name is Trisha, and I've created this space for you to get behind the scenes DIY knowledge from how I create rustic decor, natural jewelry, and beach decor, as well as rustic furniture. Today, I'm going to switch things up and give you some pointers on how I have been creating multiple different projects in the past week. This is something that I like to do. I like to create a furniture piece, something that's completely out of the ordinary, and then I'm also finishing up some epoxy projects because I've been making some amazing ornaments for you guys to give gifts for this Christmas season. And just when I stopped, when I thought I was done with my last batch of ornaments, I came up with a really cool idea. So I'm going to share that with you guys in just a moment. And before I get started on all of the things that I'm creating in my workshop, I wanted to share with you some vulnerability because this is October. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And if you don't know already, that is where my PTSD had come from. I was first diagnosed with PTSD when I was 7 years old. And it resurfaced in a very, very, very hard light, essentially, in my early 20s. And so I wanted to bring forth some ways that you can see or take awareness of somebody who's in a domestic violence relationship. And I hope to inspire at least one person to have the courage to get into a safe space, because this all circles back to why I create rustic decor, which is how it started. Was that I was in a domestic violence relationship and I needed a safe place to express myself. And this literally was what God gifted me to be able to be who I was and heal without being judged. So I welcome you into that. I'm going to share some of my story with you. And I don't have the victim mentality anymore, right? Like, so even though I experienced that, I do believe it happened for me, and for me in the sense of sharing it with you in hopes that I could provide at least one person hope that they can get out of that cycle, that they can break free, that they can have the courage to do whatever it takes to escape domestic violence and learn how to love and be loved in a correct way, which I am today. So that's phenomenal. Great news. All right. So I wanted to share with you a couple things about when I was experiencing domestic violence. I wasn't allowed to go to work eventually. Like, I had a part-time job for a while and I loved it. And they loved me at work and they promoted me at work. And it was just a fantastic thing. And I was super passionate about everything that I did. And so eventually I was not allowed to work. I oftentimes would wear long sleeve shirts because I was covered in bruises. I also covered things up with a smile on my face because I didn't want to make it anyone else's problem. In addition to that, there was an increase of poor coping, right? So there was an increase of drinking, smoking pot, all those things that were not productive, but I was just my way of coping at the time with the amount of pain that I had. I also shut a lot of people out of my life. I wasn't allowed to have friends, and I couldn't spend a lot of time with my family because this person that I was in a relationship with liked to be in control, and they would fear that I would leave them if I was around people who were healthy for me. So not only that, I was constantly relocating. So this was back in like 2013, literally at the beginning of my journey as a rustic decor artisan. And that person had been arrested for abusing me and for unlawful imprisonment. And I needed to be ready to leave that person. It didn't matter what anybody around me said, did. I needed to be ready and courageous. Like, I know what it feels like to feel like I needed that person to live and to feel like I couldn't live without them. And it literally changes your brain chemistry. So if you're somebody who knows someone who's suffering in a domestic violence relationship, please just let them know that you're there for them when they're ready, and pray for them. Like, sometimes that's literally all you can do. In fact, how I actually got out of that relationship was I was in New Hampshire with that person, and I they were chasing after me, literally to kill me. And I was running off into the woods, and I made a post on Facebook and was like, somebody please come save me. So mind you, these like people from back home, one person responded. Literally, that's all it took, was one person 4.5 hours away from me and said, I'm on my way. And that person drove and came and picked me up, and I will feel forever indebted to them and will always love them because they came and saved me. Literally saved my life. And it was that day, you know, I kept asking God. I was like, God, give me the strength to get out of this. And he did. Okay, it took a while, but he did. And it's been the greatest blessing. So it is possible, and there is hope. If you know somebody who's struggling with domestic violence, there is definitely hope. Of course, it took a lot for me. My role in the situation was to go and heal and undo the things that decades of abuse had done to me. In the beginning, I remember in college, I was studying operant and classical conditioning. I went into cognitive behavioral therapy. I was literally on a mission to do whatever it took to rewire my brain so that I could love and be loved. I learned how to set boundaries. I learned how to love myself and honor myself. I learned how to have a voice. It still shakes in some difficult situations, right? But I don't carry that victim mentality anymore. And that's something too that helped me stop attracting abusers, because I was in it for more than just healing. I wanted to come out of this experience and really genuinely be safe and feel like I'm free and not having to rely on somebody who's going to treat me wrong. So it's been a long journey. And I wanted to share that part of my story with you guys without getting into too many of the details. Sometimes I refrain from telling my testimony because I don't need pity. I don't need sadness. I don't even need a hug. Like, I know how to hug myself. I became my own best friend over time, and I have some really amazing and supportive folks in my life. So it's all good. I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm content, and I have a lot of inner love too, and love from God. I could not have done this, any of it, without God. I'm going to tell you that right now. Like, he gets all the glory, and I don't care who unfollows me. I'm going to share that with you. So I'm going to get to the projects that I'm working on now that I shared that with you. So go out there and pray for those people. Now you know a little bit more about what it may look like when somebody's experiencing it. They may also create excuses for that person's negative behavior. Just understand that the victim in that moment really just needs patience and prayer, and potentially even knowing that there's places like Catholic Charities that will help them in one phone call. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to get into some of the projects I'm working on. This has been on my mind for like a year, since Christmas, right? So like I've had these pine cones, and I wanted them to look like a wintry scene with white epoxy to make them look like there's snow. So my concept is I'm going to fill in more of the gaps down here with the shimmering white epoxy. And then I'm going to decorate this like a Christmas tree. And I'm going to put little LED lights on it. And it's just cute, right? Like, how adorable is this? It's been tricky because I really wanted to make something that was me. I don't like to repeat anything that's been done before. I like things to really truly be like, oh, that's unique, that's different. You know what I mean? I don't want it to look like one of those villages that you can buy. It needed to be something different. So far, this is what I'm coming up with the painted pine cone pieces. And I'm also working on furniture and more ornaments. So I'm on my last batch. I keep saying last batch of ornaments. I have a gold background with this. These are going to be really, really shimmery because they're going to be gorgeous when they have epoxy over them. And then I've got the big scallop shell here with the golden sand background. And I've got to do this in layers. So if you want to learn how to do epoxy, feel free to go back into some of my previous videos because I did teach you how I mix it up and everything. I actually did a private class yesterday. And so we have some pendants for necklaces like in the making, but I'll get to finish them for her. She came and designed them, And then I came up with this idea. She goes, oh, Trisha, you should put crosses in them, right? Because I love Jesus. Why not? Instead, I thought about scriptures. So what I'm going to do is put a layer of the pearly white epoxy behind it. And so what I did, so this took some trial and error. I've actually made a couple things with scriptures on it in picture frames before. So what I did was I took a clear paper that is hard. It's kind of like picture paper, but clear. And I printed off scriptures that were relevant to Jesus when he was born. This one is Matthew 1:20. Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. So I just extracted a couple that people could really utilize when they are remembering Jesus during the holiday season. And so I'm going to put that over white, so it'll really make the words pop. Now, if you do this, and for any reason, take and print with a normal printer onto this clear paper, you're going to want to take a clear spray paint. I used sea glass spray paint. I think it's Krylon. I'm not very sure, but it's clear sea glass spray paint. And I spray painted over the letters. Here's why. It will not dry, right? It's going to dry on normal paper, but not on the clear picture photo paper. So with spraying it, I can put my finger on it. I can put epoxy over it, and it's not going to bleed everywhere. So that is a little pointer on that. And I'm going to show you guys this really sweet end table that Joe made. So he built it a couple years ago. While I'm on the topic, I wanted to let you guys know that we are not taking orders for custom furniture while we're rebuilding our house, because it's a lot of work, and he's the one that will build the base of the furniture, and then I'll decorate it. So I'll just share with you what's going on here. Let me move a few things out of the way. I'm really excited about this, and while I'm creating it, I'm very slowly coming up with ideas. All of my projects, I will come up with ideas as I go along. So I have no idea what it's going to look like until I'm done with it, and it's amazing. It's fun that way, right? Okay. Oh, I keep forgetting to do home decorating tips, and I don't know why. I get so talkative and going and sharing everything else with providing hope and DIY that I forget. This week, I wanted to inspire you as a home decorating tip that whatever you choose in your home, make sure your decorating brings you peace. It doesn't matter if it brings anybody else peace. It is your home. You are in control of your environment. And even if you're not in control with your relationships in your environment yet, because you haven't figured out how to claim that control, find peace in your decorating, right? Like, I love nature, as you can tell. I like to decorate with nature because that brings me peace. And so I want to just inspire you. If you like clusters of things, take a bunch of picture frames in your favorite photos, your happiest memories, and make a wall with picture frames. If you like minimalist concept, or you don't have a lot of space, then choose potentially a focal point piece, right? A statement piece, something like the Adirondack map that I have for sale. A big mirror works great in small spaces to make it look larger. Or you could even choose one of these switchblade covers that I have, and I could customize that for you. So those are just some pointers here. Do what makes you feel right. If your room does not feel good, if you don't feel good in your room, change one thing at a time. Give yourself some grace as you're going through the process, and just create one space at a time that makes you feel good. All right, I will show you guys the end table now. I'm in my black era. Like, ever since I went to the Rustic Furniture Fair in Blue Mountain Lake and I spoke to Barney Bellinger, he was like, oh, Trisha, like, put a black background for where you're displaying your picture frames. And I was like, I don't know why I didn't think of that. Maybe I'm like opposed to black because I like to just like emanate light, right? And emanate just brightness. But black with my birch bark and black with just like all of this stuff is making so much sense right now. I'm going to switch over this. Okay. So here is the end table that Joe made. And like I went back and forth trying to decide if I wanted to paint over this with matte black. In fact, I made the drawers inside matte black. I just love it. There's something about it that gives me happiness. So I made the inside of the drawers matte black, and I may or may not incorporate like black pieces like this. So these are just wood that I spray painted black and then covered with epoxy. However, I do know the next stages of this process are going to include this birch bark. I'm going to make sure it's elevated from the edge, right? So I'm going to put that around all four corners, and I'm going to make sure that it fills in the gaps here. And this is actually going to act as a kind of a parapet. That's all I can think of. It's going to act like a barrier for when I coat the top with epoxy. And I've never coated the top. Oh, I actually have once. Okay. I've done epoxy over an end table one time, and it turned out wonderfully. It was gorgeous. So with this, the whole concept and idea is to do flatter details. So I know that I want to put like twigs in the corner going in like that. And I also want this to speak to men too. So I don't want to make this too feminine by putting like pressed flowers all over it and stuff like that. Because it's giving me a really masculine vibe, and I love it for this. Like I don't want to ruin that with some beautiful, daisies, which is fine. So that's as far as I have gotten with the end table, and I'm excited to see what I'm going to do with it in the future, because it's literally one step at a time. And then if I can't think of the next step, I do not proceed with it. All right, folks, you have seen behind the scenes, and you have heard the inspiring things in relevance to Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So feel free to share this with your friends, your family, anyone who needs hope. Invite them to my page, and I hope to plant a seed of hope in their hearts and inspire them to be creative and use art therapy as a way to cope in healthy means. And if you've missed the previous weeks where I have taught DIY switchplate covers, DIY epoxy projects, and so much more, you can watch them down below, or you can find me on YouTube and subscribe there, because I do have all of these classes on my YouTube channel, which is under Trisha's Oak Art. Oak has 2 O's, stands for one of a kind. So I thank you guys so much for joining me, and let me know if you've worked on anything creative in the comment section below, or what you've been inspired to try with these videos. And I will see you next Thursday at 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining me.